welcome representatives from Regional Aviation Association of Australia via video conference. For the Hansard record, could you please give your name and the capacity in which you appear today?
Hey, it's Malcolm Sharpe, and I'm here as the non-executive chairman of the Regional Aviation Association of Australia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharpe, and I invite you to make a brief opening statement before the committee asks questions. And do you wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, I do, Senator.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Look, I've recently been elected in the position of chair of the Regional Aviation Association. Just a bit of my background. I'm very much a product of general aviation. Started learning to fly at 16 years of age. I live in Hamilton in regional Victoria. Grew up there, but I was one of those kids that hung over the fence at the local airport, and could actually fly a plane before I could drive a car. So obviously I've moved through aviation. I've got around 17,000 hours. A lot of that, around 10,000 hours in piston engine, if you like, or general aviation. A lot of flying training background, including also I've done firefighting, regional airlines, and I've flown corporate jets. 37 years into aviation, so I'm only a young 54. And every day I keep learning in aviation, and it's a great industry involved in. I'm also still an active pilot. I've recently been appointed to the Aviation Safety Advisory Panel at CASA. I've represented the industry on a number of working groups. I hold an airline transport's pilot's licence, flight examiner's rating, and I'm also the accountable manager of a 145 and also chief pilot in our organisation. Representing the RAAA, I'm sure you've heard of the RAAA before. I won't go into too much, but we have 100 members, a lot of AOC members, and we've got members from Tasmania in all states of Australia. A pretty broad church, I'd say, in regards to general aviation. So obviously I'm here representing them today. My view, or the RAAA's view on general aviation, I won't need to define what general aviation is. I'm sure that's been done. In my opinion, and I said I'm a product of general aviation, is that general aviation is still there. It's still alive. It's still well. The demographics have changed somewhat. As I fly around, I see a lot of small airstrips in paddocks, people's backyards. It's changed. And I refer to submission number 30 by Mr. Peter Cromedy, in where he says that, there's only been a 1% decline annually between 2008 and 2016. What's hurting general aviation is competition. Kids have other more exciting things to do in life now. I know as a charter business in our own business, we used to fly a lot of people up to cattle and buying sheep into New South Wales and Queensland. Low-cost carriers came in and changed that whole description around that, and made it a lot easier for people to travel. Roads and cars are getting better now. So we've found that our charter business in that particular area has declined. You look at the recreational aviation of Australia, and there's 10,000 new members. They've got over 3,000 aircraft, and they're running 40% of the flying schools now. Only a few weeks ago, I was out in the backyard and I heard a drone fly over my head, and I went out and spoke to the guy and I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "This is my recreation. These are my eyes in the sky." So people have found other ways to, if you like, get their fix. There is, of course, as I've read through, not all, but I've read through 46 of the, not all 46 of the submissions, I should say, but I've read through a large proportion of them. And look, a large proportion of them put the blame on CASA. It's the RAAA's position that, we don't think CASA should become the punching bag for every issue or every downturn we have in our industry. It's pretty easy to stand on the outside and throw stones, but it's a lot harder to sometimes get in and get involved. And that's no disrespect. I was just listening to Mr. Phil Hurst speak there, and I know that people have put a lot of time and energy into working groups over the years. But we have been, as an industry, calling for more consultation, more engagement. And I'd have to say that we're actually starting to see that. as an association. We've certainly seen hundreds of people involved in industry, in the working groups, from the aviation safety advisory panels to the technical working groups, to RAAAs, and there's a lot more other associations, or if you like, a lot more other consultation being done down the line. CASA does have its faults and weaknesses, like any organisation, and I think that the introduction of Part 61, the training regulations, was probably a big wake-up call for industry and the regulator. That was certainly badly done. And look, it's on the record, and there's obviously a new set of those been a technical working group reformed, and they're putting some recommendations back to CASA. So I think we need to see where that goes. There is certainly other areas that CASA could improve in, and that's the inclusion of just culture in the Act. CASA, I think, is slow to realise that the knowledge and the skill lies in the industry, and that it's the industry when they need to consult with. But as I said before, we're starting to see the wheel slowly move that way. But it's a big ship to turn around. But we're all trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of good people in CASA too, but there's some people who are in CASA who are tending to block progress, and it's probably a matter of weeding out those people. But personally, I've had a lot of good dealings with CASA. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been called as an expert witness for CASA, and I've also taken CASA to task over changes in regulation and policy over the years. I've been in the other side of it as well, representing industry against CASA. So I do see both sides of the story. So as an industry, we need to move on. I think CASA is only one part of the issue with general aviation. I think we need more bilateral support between the regulator and industry, and we just need to continue to consult and engage. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Sharpe. Can I ask Senator Patrick if you have questions to commence with?
Yeah, look, can you just explain to me what process you're currently going through to be able to take on some of the functions of CASA?
Okay, so it's through basically, are you talking about me personally or talking about the association?
The association.
Sorry, so the association is obviously very actively engaged in consultation with CASA. We have a number of our members who are working through the technical working groups. I've spoken to a lot of operators who are engaged actively in those working groups that are members of our association. There are some good stories and there are some difficult stories in that mix.
But are you not going through an application with CASA at the moment under Part 149?
Not to my knowledge, Senator.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharpe. You have provided a great deal of information in your opening statement, and I'm interested in this concept that there are, both enablers and disenablers in CASA. I wondered if you could talk to me about just trying to think of the correct term, is it a complaints function within CASA? If you have an issue in CASA that you can go and report to, are you aware of that?
Look, I am aware of that. If I can probably give you an example, Senator, that in recent times there have been recommendations put up from the technical working groups that the technical working group, which is mainly made up of industry, has made recommendations. In some instances, those recommendations have been hijacked within CASA. So when they've then arrived at the ASAP, they certainly weren't what was intended, and we've had that feedback obviously directly from the association members. In that situation, I'd say that the ASAP has worked well and that it has had that feedback and it has then reverted it back down into the TWGs for rectification. So there has been some CASA meddling in some of the outcomes of the TWGs.
So that function sits within CASA, is that right? It's not an independent function. It is informed by the skill set and the advice of the legal team, particularly in CASA. Is that fair to say?
Well, the technical working groups primarily make the recommendation to the ASAP. The ASAP is basically a peer review, if you like. That is then handed, but obviously CASA have final determination in regards to those recommendations. So the DAS and the board, that is.
Right. Okay. So I'm just trying to tease out this idea of if you have a problem in CASA, what's your process for working through it? Do you send an email to the CEO, or do you have an independent arbitrator who will help you? I mean, we've had a story this morning about an operator who's going to appeal through the AAP and the cost and challenge that an individual has compared to the full might of the CASA legal team.
Look, it's there is obviously a process. I'm not, as an operator and as the association, our operators will typically take our issues to the association, and our association, being the Regional Aviation Association, will raise those issues directly with CASA. And we do tend to find that it's a mediation process. We're not always successful, but we tend to try that process first before taking legal action.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sharpe. I think.
Chair.
I'm sorry. Who's saying? Senator Patrick.
Chair, I just wanted to say I must apologise to the witness. I actually confused you with RAAA. I've just now got my head back into the right space.
You're right.
Thank
if you've seen the wheel of regulations, I wouldn't blame you. So,
well, there's too many acronyms in your sector, I think. But thank you.
No, thank you, Senator.
Terrific. So, Mr. Sharpe, I invite you to make any additional submissions to the committee following your evidence today. I appreciate that we are short of time, so it's very difficult to get across, a complex issue and regulatory environment in such a short amount of time. But I do appreciate your appearance and the work you've put into this, and please go with the committee's thanks.
Thank you, Senator.
We're now going to have a short break, and we will return at 11:45 daylight saving time or 10:45 Queensland time. Thank you.